Hey there, gaming fans. My Muñaños Gamer. This is Jesus from Jesus Gaming, and I welcome you to yet another new episode of the podcast Continue News and Gaming, your weekly recap for everything gaming news that transcended in the last few days ago. And in today's episode, we got everything for interest that has been announced for the another one of the main events of gaming in general with Gamescom 2025. But before that, there are blurred times in Bungie, and the company once known for being the legendary studio that brought through life Halo and Master Chief, and now navigating through uncharted waters, is facing his darkest days, or maybe from dark to light days. And we got the latest from the executive shifting that is occurring in the now PlayStation Studio subsidiary, and actually about being a PlayStation subsidiary is part of the discussion. So buckle up because here we go. Well, there wasn't kind of a easing in news from the side of Bungie this past week, or at least in the second half of the past week, when Bungie's main page was updated with a blog post called "Passing the Torch," which is basically a message from Pete Parson and Justin Truman. So I'm gonna read it out the whole communication in a little speed up method. Message from Pete Parsons to the Bungie community. After more than 2 decades of helping build this incredible studio, establishing the Bungie Foundation, and growing inspiring community around our work, I decided to pass the torch. This journey has been the honor of a lifetime. I am deeply proud of the worlds we've built together and the million of players who call them home. And most of all, I'm privileged by the opportunity to work alongside the incredible minds at Bungie. When I asked to lead Bungie in 2015, my goal was to grow us into a studio capable of creating and sustaining iconic generation spawning entertainment. We've been through so much together. We launched a bold new chapter for Destiny, built an inevitable independent live ops organization capable of creating and publishing its own games, and joined the incredible family at Sony Interactive Entertainment. Today marks the right time for the beginning, or for a new beginning, I should say. The future of Bungie will be in the hands of a new generation of leaders. I am thrilled to announce that Justin Truman will be stepping into the leadership as Bungie new studio head. I worked alongside Justin for many years. His passion for our games, our teams, and our players is unmatched. As leader in engineering, production, and design, and most recently as the general manager for Destiny 2 and our chief development officer. He has been instrumental in bringing some of the most memorable moments in Bungie history to life. He lives and breathes in the studio, and I have full confidence he's the right person to lead Bungie forward. Thank you for being the best, most passionate community in gaming. It's been a privilege to serve you, and as for me, I'll be second star to the right and straight till morning. Likewise, a message from Justin Truman. In the 15 years I've been developer at Bungie, I've worn a lot of different hats. As an engineer, I wrote some code. I'm really proud of our original weapons ability and networking on Destiny 1. As a designer, I helped craft many of our Destiny 2 systems, including some of the endgame systems I got terribly wrong at Destiny 2 launch. As producer, I helped our team build our rollout Destiny's first seasons. More recently, I helped with our overall talent strategy as Chief Development Officer, and have been helping the Marathon team as we build our next world. Across all these different roles, Bungie's purpose has stayed clear. We create worlds that inspire friendships. When we are at our best, we created those worlds alongside you, our community player community, and building something that matters, something that worth your time, your passion, and your investment in us, something that I learned hopefully over delivers. I've also been part of this effort at Bungie's where maybe we're not on our best. We stumbled and realized through listening to our community that we had missed the mark. I know I personally learned a lot over the years, as have all of us here, from those conversations. I am committed to supporting and working alongside every member of the team here as we continue pouring our hearts and souls into these worlds. Worlds that we love, that we hope that being worth your time and your passion, because ultimately those worlds only exist and thrive with you in them. We are hard work right now doing that, both with Marathon and Destiny. We are currently heads down, but we have more to show in both of these worlds later this year. In closing, I know I can't speak for all Bungies when I say I appreciate your passion, your perspective at the time you spend with us. Per Audacia ad Astra, Justin Truman, studio head at Bungie. While sounding honest and upbeat, I think that it should be important to notice that we had to do a little backstory. When Sony Interactive Entertainment, the parent company of PlayStation, announced the purchasing of Bungie in January 2022, it was evident that Bungie will remain as an independent subsidiary, helping self-publishing and also helping PlayStation to make some roadmap and be like a special of an advisor in the live service strategy by the former CEO Jim Ryan. And of course, an independent subsidiary and free to self publish and continue releasing games across the multiple platforms was part of the deal. And the rationale beside the expertise of live services, it was also the creative freedom was a selling point. And basically that is why the reason that Bungie allowed itself to be bought again, because this is not the first time that Bungie is in independent. By the end of the 90s, early 2000s, and Halo was supposed to be the latest Macintosh game, Microsoft decided to buy the company to actually have Master Chief at the face of the original Xbox back in 2001. And the 2022 arrangement or the sale was pitched a win-win. Sony gained a live services powerhouse without stifling its culture, and Bungie gained the resource to expand to its IP. But now we are here 3 years later, and things have changed dramatically. Taking an advantage that Destiny 2 latest expansion for the past 3 years hasn't been like the deal break, mounting criticism for bugs, lack of content. And while Bungie ended the controversial content folding, mainly the Red War saga or the first saga of the Destiny 2 launch is still doing its impact in the game. And of course, you can add the controversial monetization decisions from the early years of Destiny 2, alongside with the revival of Marathon as its classic IP now revived as a new phase for live service extraction, has been delayed and dogged by a backlash over uh, basically a closed beta that has been kind of a varying positives and negatives, and of course the stolen artwork scandal. So along with that, we got layoff, and by 2024, the layoffs counts like 220 employees were let go by the company, alongside leadership departure with high-profile creative leaps, including Luke Smith, Mark Noseworthy, and Joe Blackburn has already exited Bungie, and PlayStation's executives are growing frustrated. That including investors for Sony that are claiming that Bungie needs to be online with more accountability. And with this, the once proud independent subsidiary status has been steadily eroded. And in the August 2025 earning reports conference with investor Lin Tao, the financial chief officer of Sony, has confirmed that Bungie's independence is getting lighter and that the studio is being integrated into PlayStation Studio more and more. And the thing is that passing the torch blog posts, leadership changes doesn't mean that anything is new. Of course, this blog was kind of again, and like I said a few minutes ago, is kind of showcasing the Bungie is aware of the problems. Bungie is aware that not everything has been seamless and has gone through plan, but they're optimistic for the future. And I think that things have changed a lot since they were founded back in 1991. And yeah, it is noticeable about the autonomy Shinkrin. His flagship game, Destiny, is questionable in terms of if they're waiting to have Destiny to hold out until Marathon appears and Marathon doesn't be or doesn't end up being the game what is supposed to be and is under intense scrutiny, the future looks blurred as best. So I think the torch here isn't just creative leadership, it's the very identity of Bungie as a semi-independent force in the industry. And that torch is now being passed within a framework increasingly defined by Sony corporate's priority. And let's face it, Sony hasn't made any sense since a few years ago. And also with the whole drama that Sony might be greenlighting more games getting into Xbox, I think that that's kind of make a new layer of complications with it all this. So, in more than an upbeat, I want to highlight, like I did in my blog, jesusgg.syc, about that this is the first time that Bungie has been in kind of a cycle of reinvention and practically like the Phoenix Bird, where it burns out and reborn as new. We got the once independent Mac focused developer. During the 90s through the 2000s, they created Marathon and co-developed the legendary game Myth, and followed by the Halo adventure from 2000 to 2007, and the regaining of independence in 2007 through 2010 to have the development of the game that now we know as Destiny. Of course, Microsoft only agreed to let Bungie go as a whole new independent studio, except that Halo stayed with Xbox Game Studio. And despite being a 10-year publishing deal with Activision, and evidently with the failure of the campaign due to the intense input from Activision and the failure of the initial year one of Destiny 2 in 2019, Bungie regained the publishing deal or the publishing right to self-publish its own game, Destiny 2, and 20 to 22 is the acquisition by Sony to convert it as an independent subsidiary of PlayStation, but nowadays it's gradually heading to PlayStation Studio full integration. And I agree when people say that each era has brought both creative highs and corporate compromises. Unfortunately, it is what it is in these days on gaming market and gaming corporations. The difference now is that Bungie's creative freedom, once non-negotiable course identity, is no longer guaranteed, and I do think that this is one of the few concerns that we got here now with Bungie, I should say. And for Destiny fans, actually, the immediate concern is whether the integration will stabilize or further disrupt the game's future, as Sony kind of tends to be really imperative when they believe they have a good idea, which they don't really necessarily align with what the expectations for gamers. But one thing is certain, the Bungie that Sony bought in 2022 is not the Bungie we see today. And there's a lot of PlayStation influences in the decision. And some other PlayStation studio might be happy of what's going on with Bungie because, let's face it, I believe that for settlers, there are studio, I will dare to say Naughty Dog, for example, are not happy that they were forced to cancel the Last of Us multiplayer because they failed at an assessment that Bungie originally did in 2023, and maybe there's a kind of a mantra that Bungie's karma did pay its due. I will let you to actually think about that and let me know in the comments if you truly agree with that sentiment. So I guess that it shouldn't be really a big thing to analyze or getting like rocket science, engineering, equations, mathematics, calculus, whatever you want to call it. The Gamescom 2025 is one of the biggest event in gaming. Not just because there isn't much of a physical event at all, thanks to the disappearance of E3 since the new 2020 decade, is because it is one of the places where gaming company can really showcase through gaming fans and through other gaming developer colleagues. So I think that Geoff Keighley's Gamescom's opening night light 2025, which by the time that you're hearing or seeing this via YouTube or Spotify, you're probably a week later that the main opening night live keynote just wrapped. And if you probably missed something, we got you here. So we got the big reveals and we're gonna confirm about the early rumors that were surrounding about the event, and by the end of this session we're gonna be discussing a little bit about the rumors that didn't go through or went partially. So I think that it's fair to say that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is the one that kicked off the event, along with Activision, with a full throttle trailer for Black Ops 7, confirming that the game is slated to be released on November 7th. And evidently, the Cold War espionage vibe is stronger than ever, with a darker tone and late narrative teasing the campaign footage, which will have Black Ops 2, David Mason, the son of Alex Mason from the original Black Ops, still fighting with the stress or the PTSD provoked by the events of the second game, and to see how he becomes part of the forces that needs to stand up against the evil again in Black Ops 7. So it was evidently that the rumor was correct, but the tone sheet wasn't leaked. The one of the main presentations wasn't this shown already publicly, but the inside story about the campaign and the whole drama behind David Mason was the new thing that was presented at the event. One of my early targets for 2026 is Resident Evil Requirement, which Capcom delivered a meaty gameplay slice of requirements, showing its dual protagonist system and a return to slower, dread-heavy pacing. It's a spiritual pivot from Resident Evil 9's action leanings and a fans of classic survival horror, and we indeed are eating well. So the rumor was correct because it was fully expected. What was not expected is that the early gameplay mechanics was going to be shown. So, and this is a good signal because it means that Capcom is slated or laser focused on actually to have the game release in spring of next year. By the way, I'm not going in a specific order, but I had to mention the season 2 of the TV series of Fallout based on the same game by Bethesda. We show off the first trailer of season 2, set to premiere in December. The shift to the East Coast open up with new lore possibilities, and the trailer hints at a fresh factions and moral dilemma and the arrival of the cast in New Vegas. While it was expected that Amazon and Bethesda will co-present the season 2, it was rumored that a Fallout 3 remaster announcement was part of the surprises, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. What did happen is that Hollow Knight Silksong is official, and Team Sherry finally shared that the game was going to be released, but instead of the shadow drop, we got a demo instead, and definitely the August 21 announcement that the game is going to be released this year. And the only difference is that originally Silksong was slated to be a launch title along the ROG Ally Xbox and Xbox X, but the game will come first than the hardware. Next up, we got Silent Hill F, with Konami's latest trailer for Silent Hill F dove down on the eerie 1970s Japan settings. Reconfirmed the spring 2020. Actually, I got my notes wrong here. It's not a spring 2026 release. It's about to be released soon, and pretty much is what's expected on Konami still thrashing things up for Silent Hill. Next up, we got Koei Tecmo with Ninja Gaiden 4 out of nowhere made its debut with a brutal gameplay trailer, fast, fluid, and unapologetic violent, and that's always welcoming. It's targeting a 2026 release. Actually, this was kind of a surprise. There wasn't no early rumors about new trailer and announcements for Ninja Gaiden 4. The Outer World 2, the Obsidian sequel, we got a new presentation, and while it was expected that Obsidian and Xbox Game Studio was gonna to reminding us about the launch of the game, the new trailer have the game shown more serious than its predecessor, with a trailer that hint at deeper themes and expectations for the gamers. Blizzard Entertainment took a turn to show off the next expansion for World of Warcraft with Midnight, and the cinematic trailer that was dropped confirmed a dark, dramatic, and lore heavy, which is always kind of expected in the new expansion for each year or each period. For World of Warcraft, this was kind of a 50-50 surprise and 50-50 rumor that Blizzard was kind of having something to say, because there's no BlizzCon this year, which is generally where Blizzard have this kind of announcement. So I think that it was no brainer to use the Gamescom 2025 keynote to make an official announcement. But what was a really big surprise that no one saw coming is Bubsy 4D. And yes, the Bubsy is back, with Fabras of Dementor fame is reviving the infamous mascot in a 4D platformer. It's self-aware, chaotic, and somehow kind of a brilliant. So I think that now that the collection of previous Bubsy games, for those who doesn't know, Bubsy was a kind of icon in the 60-bit era in the early 90s with Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo games. So since the last year we got or early this year, we got a collection of the classic games being remastered, and now we got the fourth official game. And maybe doing some justice for the original Bubsy 3D game, which ironically wasn't well received for some reason, but I think that the reception for this announcement was welcome. Next, we got Battlestar Galactica Tactical Roguelite. It's a PC-only, story-driven roguelite set in the Battlestar universe. It's tactical, moody, and is coming early in 2026. This kind of rumors, actually, this wasn't a rumor. This was a complete surprise. No one saw it coming. With Traveler's Thirst officially unveiled their new Lego Batman game, and yes, it's based on the entire cinematic universe, from Tim Burton's Gotham Batman's to Nolan's gritty realism and even Snyder brooding Batfleck. The trailer teased a sprawling tongue-in-cheek homage to every major Batman film era. The game compromises a co-op play, dynamic set pieces, and a meta narrative that postpones a Batman's many incarnation. Um, Rumor Mesh, this was kind of a leak ahead of time, but gracefully it didn't spoil out the surprise. I think the reception was kind of unaccepted. So what did show up? What was really rumored and it didn't happen? So like I said earlier, the Fallout 3 remaster, which many Bethesda fans were awaiting alongside with the season 2 of Fallout TV series, didn't happen. Lego Batman, at the same time that it wasn't a surprise, it was well received, but it's not the Batman that people were kind of expecting. And this is based on the performance of Suicide Squad, killed the Justice League performance last year. So it was expected that Rocksteady Studio was kind of ready to showcase that they're returning with a new original Batman game to at least kind of a face cleaning. Because interestingly, Gotham Knight, which is not a Rocksteady Studio game, kind of aligned with the storyline of Arkham Saga, which I will not spoil here. And many people kind of disagreed that the whole Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game was actually part of the Arkham universe. And by bad luck is the game that has to be like this big failure critically and by popularity. So I think it was fair that people had expectations that Rocksteady Studio, which is a fact that they're working on a new solitary game, well, it was fair to say that people did believe that there was actually a new Batman game in development, or the solitary game or campaign only game was actually a new Batman game. So that was the other thing that didn't happen, and the Hollow Knight Silksong Shadow Drop, which was and I think that the suggestion that it was going to be Shadow Drop is the same thing on why the Rock Alley S box hardware was kind of the star, the protagonist of this year's Gamescom, because that's what everyone was talking about in social media. The new hardware by Asus alongside with Microsoft to have a portable Xbox device, originally announced to have Silksong to be one of the launch game. Yes, people will have the expectation that Team Cherry will shadow drop the game, but this wasn't the case. So I think that, in my perspective, Gamescom opening night live event keynote 2025 didn't reinvent the wheel, but it did deliver a solid mix of expected reveals, and there were actually surprises. I'm not gonna deny that there were kind of good surprises. Of course, the announcement that the Game Awards will take place also this year in December, which I hope to dedicate a whole episode of continue news and gaming about my expectations depending who are the nominees. So I think that that should be it. So let me know in the comments, what were your expectations, or the keynote of Gamescom really mark the deal with you, or are you excited for what's coming, or what you kind of expected to be announced that didn't happen? Let me know in the comments. Remember to everything gaming, gaming news, new episodes of Continue News and Gaming, and occasionally gaming live stream. Please consider to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell for everything about gaming. Also, if you're watching this through Spotify or listening via Spotify, please consider the subscription. It will be much appreciated. This was Jesus from Jesus Gaming. Health and success. Happy gaming. Thank you very much.